want you to turn with me in your Bibles to Ezekiel chapter 37, our foundational text for this powerful teaching series that we're doing on CPR, creating personal revival. And I've got some exciting keys just for you today to help you to be able to create personal revival in your life. From Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 through 5 is our foundational text here. Notice here the word of the Lord. The hand of the Lord came upon me and brought me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was full of bones. And then he caused me to pass by them all around. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and indeed they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And so I answered, O Lord, you know. And again he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. And thus says the Lord God to these bones, surely I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. Have you ever felt sometimes that everybody around you was just dried out, sapping your energy, just drawing the life out of you because they don't have any vision, because they're not aspiring to do something mighty for God, because they have no big dreams for God, and you feel as though you're trapped in a valley of dry bones? You've got the ability to have the breath of God locked into your nostrils and in your bosom, and you can release that and prophesy life into a dead situation and create personal revival. Even though other people around you are walking around purposelessness, walking around clueless as to why they are here and who have not tapped into their real reason for being. Here the prophet of the Lord, Ezekiel, was brought out into a dead situation, and God wanted to use the power that was in his own bosom, in his own mouth, in his own nostrils, to prophesy life to his situation. You have the ability to change your circumstances, but your circumstances will never change until you do. And this is why we're talking about creating personal revival, because when you change, everything in your life will change. And I've just given you the first key about going back to rediscover your purpose. When you find your purpose, something comes alive in you. Something powerful comes alive in you whenever you find your purpose in life. So go back and rediscover your purpose. I know that there's sometimes pain in your life, but learn to turn your pain into purpose, because your life is so much richer when you have meaning and purpose in your life. And you should always have a purpose that is greater than yourself. Learn to live on purpose in your life. Don't just have motion without meaning in your life. Don't just have a full schedule. Learn to have a full life, because you have learned to discover and embrace God's purpose. Purpose is never something that you decide. Purpose is something that you discover. The second key that I've given you in creating personal revival is to revisit your passions. Revisit your passions, because purpose produces a passion. Can you say that with me? Purpose produces a passion. It really does. Purpose produces a passion. It is far better to be a failure at something that you love than to be a success at something that you hate, is what the late George Burns said to us. So learn to revisit your passions. Find out, what is it that I am really passionate about? What is it that makes me cry? What makes me laugh? What makes time seem to zip by in my life? And go back and revisit those passions in your life that actually make you go. Go back and rediscover your purpose, and then revisit your passions. And now we come to key number 3 in creating personal revival, your CPR, where you have to actually put pressure to something that looks as though it has died and revive it in your life. Just because something is dormant does not mean that it is dead. You have to put pressure back to it, and that brings us to key number 3, which is reevaluate the people in your life. The first thing deals with purpose, the second deals with passion, the third deals with people. The third principle deals with re-evaluating the people in your life. I want you to just think with me for just a moment about 3 sermons over the course of your life that have really impacted you. What 3 sermons have you heard that changed your life? Just think about that for a moment. Think about it. Do, 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 do. Time's up. 3 sermons that changed your life. Now I want to ask you this. Tell me 3 people who have changed your life. Think about 3 people who have influenced your life. They've come into where you were, and they've impacted your life in an incredible way. 3 people. Go. Do, 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 do. Now, I bet you anything that it was easier for you to think of 3 people who have impacted your life than to think of 3 sermons that have impacted and changed your life. You know why? Because people impact us far more than sermons. People impact us far more than sermons. That's why you need to reevaluate the people in your life, because people, they have the ability to impact us far more than a sermon. Dr. Cole taught me the principle that the man is more important than his message. You know why? Because if you don't believe the man or receive the man, you won't receive his message. There are people whose message is totally disqualified because of the character of who the person is. And that's why the man is more important than the message. If you reject the person of Jesus Christ, forget about anything that he said to you. You won't pay attention to the truth that he spoke to us if you don't receive the person. So the most important relationship that you will ever have is your relationship with God. You have to reevaluate all of the relationships in your life. The most important relationship that you will ever have is your relationship with God, your relationship with Jesus Christ. And then the next most important relationship that you'll ever have is a relationship that you have with yourself. How do you feel about you? You've got to find out who you are, and then you work to become someone that you can like and someone that you can respect. That's our task that is set before us. I love something that Sidney Harris said. He said that if you are not comfortable with yourself, you can't be comfortable with others. You've got to get comfortable with the relationships in your own life. Comfortable with your relationship with God. Have you made your peace with God? And then comfortable with your relationship with yourself. You can't love others until you first learn how to love yourself. People that have bad attitudes toward you is because they've got some unresolved issues that they've never learned to work out with themselves. But all of life's successes come from initiating relationships with the right people and then strengthening those relationships. All of your success in life comes from initiating relationships with the right people in your life and then strengthening those relationships. People can usually trace their successes and their failures to a relationship. If you just let your mind run back, you can start thinking about a person, a 2-legged human being that messed you up, that jacked your finances up because of some person that you met. You were okay until you met, and you know who that person is. You know who that person is. There are some people that you wish that you had never ever met. And then your life on the flip side has been incredibly blessed, impacted, charged, changed, challenged by a person who came in and made you better. You can thank God when God will have brought a person into your life that stretches you, that makes you better than what you were before you ever met them. And your successes can be traced to a person, but your failures can also be traced to a person. That's why, as a part of divine CPR, you have to reevaluate the relationships, the people that are in your life. Reevaluate those people. Reevaluate those people. Because you can generally trace all of your successes, all of your failures to a relationship with a person. It's amazing. May I tell you this? Wrong people never leave your life voluntarily until you go broke. Wrong people never leave your life voluntarily until you go broke. The people that you choose to spend time with, they will end up changing who you are, because the seasons of your life, they don't change automatically. With the passage of time, your seasons change when a new person enters into your life, or when somebody that's been there leaves your life. A new season comes into your life with the entrance or the exit of a particular person or group of persons. Young Timothy's gifts, they lay dormant in his life until Paul entered into his life. When Paul met Timothy, Timothy was already saved. The Lord said to him, he said, listen, Timothy, I know the faith that was in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I perceive that it's also in you. So when Paul meets Timothy, he realizes Timothy is already at least a third generation Christian. And so Paul wasn't the one who got him saved, but Paul was the one. It took Paul's entrance into his life that came and said, Timothy, stir up the gift of God that's on the inside of you. Who is it that can step into your life and say something that stirs you to do something that your mama couldn't get you to do and your grandmama couldn't get you to do? That's what I mean by your life changes when a person enters into your life that brings a voice of maturation, of confirmation, that brings confidence into your life. It's amazing when the right person enters your life will begin to mature. It will begin to experience growth and accept challenges and become responsible when the right person enters into your life. And until Paul entered into Timothy's life, there was no real challenge there. And so his gifts lay dormant in his life, and it took Paul coming into his life saying, Timothy, stir up the gift of God that is within you. And so we have to learn how to be able to embrace people who have the ability to challenge us, to stir up the stuff that God put on the inside of us. It's amazing. The entrance of truth in your life can also change the season of your life as well. But remember now that truth is a person. Truth is a person. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So truth is not merely something that you tell. Truth is a person. Truth is a person. That's why I said to reevaluate the relationships, the people that are in your life, because truth is a person. How are you in relationship with the person of truth in your own life? The law of the inner circle says this, that those who are closest to you determine your level of success. In other words, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. But relationships connect us to destiny. Why do you think that the angel Gabriel told Mary to go and see her cousin Elizabeth when the angel Gabriel appeared to her at the well of Annunciation? I've been to that very well in Israel where the angel appeared to Mary and told her to go and connect herself to Elizabeth, who was 6 months ahead in the miracle that she was carrying in her own womb. Because relationships connect us to destiny. What Elizabeth was carrying in her womb was John the Baptist, and John the Baptist's destiny was connected to Jesus. So when the angel tells Mary to go and see her cousin Elizabeth, it's as though John the Baptist was dead in her womb. She's 6 months pregnant and she's never felt her baby move. But the moment that Mary comes into her presence, she feels the baby leap in the womb, because all of a sudden now John the Baptist says, I realize the reason that I am alive, because he had just come in contact with Jesus, who was on the inside of Mary, when purpose meets purpose, because relationships connect us to our destiny. John the Baptist was the forerunner for Jesus, and so the moment that he saw what he was to be the forerunner of, then he came alive in his purpose. His life had no purpose until Jesus showed up on the scene, still locked in the womb of Mary. And so when Mary and Elizabeth meet, purpose begins to leap. Who is it that you are around when something on the inside of you begins to leap? And so I encourage you incessantly to get around people who will challenge you and that will connect you to your destiny, because relationships connect us to destiny. You remember David? His destiny was connected to Jonathan. Those two had to meet. They had to come together and meet, because David was a shepherd boy. He was a man of the field. He was uncouth. He was untrained. But Jonathan was a king's kid. He was raised in the palace. He knew the etiquette of the palace. He is the one that had to train David in the etiquette of the palace. David had no other way of knowing how to behave in terms of royal behavior. But Jonathan's daddy was the king. And so David needed relationship with Jonathan, because again, relationships connect us to destiny. Ruth had to meet Boaz, because Boaz was her connection to her destiny. Relationships connect us to destiny. Relationships connect us to destiny. Elisha had to meet Elijah, because there was something in Elijah that Elisha had to catch. Relationships connect us to destiny. Who is it that is connecting you to the destinies of God that are in your life? Understand that relationships are like bridges. And so it is necessary to have wisdom to know which to cross and which to burn, because there are some places that you've been that you should never return. And those are some bridges that you ought to burn. May I say this to you, that all change is ultimately the result of a change in associations rather than just actions. All change is the result of a change in associations rather than just action. You cannot change your life unless you change your associations. If you have been delivered from something and you're still hanging around the same folks who still have the addiction for which you were formerly bound, it'll be a matter of time before that addiction creeps up and the stronghold of what you were suffocates the new person that you are, and you'll be back into the same position. All change is ultimately a result of a change in relationships rather than just actions. That's why when God comes into a person's life and he begins to transform their life, something on the inside of them has changed, and now their friends that used to enjoy them don't enjoy them as much, and then so they stop calling as much and they stop hanging out as much. The associations are changing, because all real change is a matter of associations, not merely of actions. If you change your actions but don't change your associations, it'll only be a matter of time before you're back involved in the same actions. So you have to get into an environment where there are people who are ahead of you. You have to get into an environment around those who challenge you. You have to get into an atmosphere where other people are out of their comfort zone. You have to get into an atmosphere of people who really desire change on the inside of them. Get around those who where growth is modeled in their own life, and where they have strong expectations for their life. Get around people who dream big for God. It'll do something on the inside of you. Get around those who are passionate, because passion is contagious. May I say this to you? Properly placed people prevent problems. Now, I know that sounds like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, but properly placed people prevent problems. This is in your personal life. This is in your business life. Properly placed people prevent problems. Properly placed people prevent problems. Will you say that with me? Properly placed people prevent problems. Norman Schwarzkopf said this, that it's not a person's accomplishment that makes them great. It's who they surround themselves with. It is who they surround themselves with. Have you realized that people don't merely leave bad companies or bad organizations, they leave bad managers, bad bosses, bad supervisors. There are some times that you will just agree to work for less wage if you love the environment of the people that you're working with. But if you're working for somebody, you're making good money, but you can't stand the people that you work with or the people that you work for, it'll be a matter of time before you'll be fed up and you cannot handle it anymore. You don't merely leave bad companies, you leave bad people, bad managers, people who have poor people skill. But remember this, no relationship is a waste of time. If it didn't bring you to what you want, at least it taught you what you don't want. If it didn't bring you what you want, at least it taught you what you don't want. May I say this to you, that trust is the foundation of all decent relationships. You've got to have trust. Trust is the foundation of all decent relationships. George MacDonald said it very well when he said that to be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved. You ought to work in your life to become a trustworthy person. A trustworthy person. And your life will expand, your influence will expand when people can trust you, when they can trust you. I love something that Henry Stimson said. He said, the chief lesson that I have learned in a long life is that the only way to make a man trustworthy is to trust him. And the surest way to make him untrustworthy is to distrust him and show your distrust. If you want to build trust in your children, trust them and show them that you trust them. If you want to build trust in an employee, trust them and show them that you trust them. It's very interesting. It's the surest way. But if you really want somebody to become dishonest with you, treat them as though they already are dishonest. And people will have a tendency to become the way that you treat them, the expectations, they will rise or fall to the level of expectations that you have set for them. May I just remind you that every person in their life, they need at least 3 vital relationships. Everybody needs a Paul, like the Apostle Paul. Paul was a father. He was a mentor. He was one who could show us the way of how to do particular things. Everybody needs a Paul, somebody to show them the ropes. Mentoring is wisdom without the wounds. It can help us to capitalize on lessons that other people have taken hard knocks to learn. And so everybody needs a Paul in their life. They need a father, they need a mother, they need a mentor, they need a big brother, a big sister, somebody that can teach them the ropes. It will shorten their learning curve in life. Everybody needs a Paul. Secondly, everybody needs a Barnabas. Everybody needs a Barnabas. Barnabas, the name Barnabas means encourager. He was a friend. Everybody needs a Barnabas. Every husband needs a Barnabas in his wife, somebody to encourage him. Amen. Men need a cheerleader who will cheer even when he's losing the game. Have you ever noticed how cheerleaders work? Even if the team is losing, cheerleaders will be on the sidelines with their pom-poms, throwing their hands in the air, saying, "Go Tigers, go!" And whatever it is that they're doing, and they are cheering a losing team. When a man least deserves love, that's when he needs it most. He needs a Barnabas at the time when he's beating himself up. When a woman has messed up, mister, listen, what she needs is not a judge. She doesn't need a coach in her face yelling at her, screaming with veins popping out of the neck, saying, "What were you doing? What were you thinking about? Did you lose your mind here?" He needs somebody in tenderness and compassion and love and honor and respect who will say, "You still my boo." Somebody who will come and still embrace them and love them and encourage them and say, "You know what? We didn't quite get it this time, but you know what? Next time I believe it's yours. Next time it's yours." They need an encourager. This Barnabas relationship is somebody who's not infatuated with who you are. They don't mind telling you the truth about you. They're not stuck on your image. This is somebody who can just be honest with you and shoot from the hip so that they can honestly make you better. Everybody needs a Paul. Everybody needs a Barnabas. And the third relationship is a Timothy. Timothy is the mentee. This is the protege that the mentor pours into. And see, at different times in your life, you can be all three. You can be somebody's Paul, you can be somebody's Barnabas, and other times, then you can be a Timothy, where somebody is pouring into you. But even if you've had people to pour into you, find the Timothys, find the Dorothys, find the Angelas, and learn to pour into them. You have to give it back. Somebody help you, you help them. Give them the benefit of your wisdom. Share your knowledge with them. Find those relationships. Relationships are the essence of life. They are the essence of life. Re-evaluate your relationships that are in your life. Don't waste all of your time with people who don't appreciate your presence, your wisdom, your knowledge. And let me say this to you, that if a person does not respect your time, neither will they respect your wisdom. So use your time wisely, and you don't waste time with people who will not respect your wisdom. Use the wisdom of God in your own heart to be discerning, to find the Timothys of the world, somebody who needs to receive something, who's hungry, who's got a voracious appetite for learning, and pour into them and cultivate in them a desire to be able to have something on the inside of their hearts that can bless them and change them. One of the things, that I will tell Timothys, I said every person needs to carry 2 books with him. One book to read and another book to write some of the things that you learn. From your own personal experiences, from your reading, always carry 2 books. I don't care what form, they can be e-books or however you want to call it, but carry 2 books, one to read and one in which to write the things that impact your life. You need Timothys in your life. You need Pauls in your life. You need Barnabases in your life. And so always treasure these relationships, because they add meaning and depth and power to your life in an incredible way. Eleanor Roosevelt said that many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.